Hey everybody, it's Casual Boops coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing the AltProto AMX 30, the new French Tier 8 Medium Tank Premium, which is also the world's worst kept secret, because World of Tanks gave it to us and said, shh, don't tell anybody you have this. And then they went ahead and posted not one, but two different videos on YouTube about it, and an article on their front page, and put some stuff in the frickin' game client about it. But yeah, no, it's a secret, guys. So anyways, I can now finally talk about it, so here it is. And there's going to be a lot to talk about in this video, so feel free to please do use the YouTube chapters to skip to the part that you care about, because I have one of these to give away. Now that I'm a partner and community contributor, I have one to give away. So there's going to be a contest about, well, not a contest, there's going to be a giveaway about that. I'm going to talk about the marathon, and I'm going to finally go over the tank itself. So click to the part that you care about, and we'll move on. Okay, so the contest is very easy. Right about now, you should be seeing a screenshot of what the Boops Discord, the Casual Boops Discord, looks like. So unfortunately, if you don't have Discord, you got to get Discord to make this work, because it's just the easiest way for me to keep track of this. But there will be a link to the Discord down there in the description of the video. You have to join the Discord, and then you go to the contest entries channel, which I've pointed to there, and in that channel that's where you put your submissions to the contest. And what you need to do to submit to the contest is in a game that you are playing in this it's World of Tanks, you know, obviously North America server only, in tier 5 and up, in a game, you know, in the countdown, or let's say, yeah, not during the countdown. Once the game starts, you post in the chat Casual Boops is giving away an AltProto AMX 30 for free, and this is my contest entry. I'll post this in the chat in the description of this video, so you can just copy that and paste it. You just got to do that once, and then, you know, take a screenshot, or you can upload the replay. Either one is fine. I don't care. Just prove to me that you've done that, and then post that in the contest entries, and boom, you're entered. I'll pick, you know, of everybody who submits, I will pick one at random, and that person will get the tank for free. And then obviously, if somebody asks you about it, that would be really cool if you'd say, hey, it's some guy that fills YouTube with trash. You should go check him out. So that's all you got to do. It's really easy. There's nothing. You just have to tell people that I'm giving you this away, and that's it. So that's the contest entry. The marathon. All right. So the marathon, as you know, this is the. They're going to give this. They're going to give you the option, the possibility of getting this tank for free, and I'm going to give you a little like a breakdown that I did here real quick on what I think this will take for time. And so here it is. Basically, the base XP for each level is shown here, and I know there are ways to skip some of these using tier 9 and 10 to do various different things, and some of those are easier than others. But so you'll have to look at those for yourself and decide if that's something that you think you can do. But I'm just going to be looking at the base XP, the brute force method, and I wanted to specifically call out that, like, okay, the cumulative XP, you need 250,000 base XP to finish this, and that doesn't mean, I believe that's not modified by premium time, and it's so it doesn't matter. It's excuse me. So for that reason, it's a little bit harder than it seems at first, and I don't know if this is more or less than previous ones, but the point I wanted to drive home here is it's very easy. People might think, oh, I'm done with stage 3. I'm 30% done. Look at that. No, after stage 3, you're 6% done. And after stage 7, after you have finished stage 7, you are halfway done. So it's important to note. You know, again, I've talked about this in the past. Wargaming uses it's called the sunk cost fallacy to make you seem like, all right, well, I've got a 30% discount. I might as well, if I don't use this discount and buy this thing, it will be a waste. I'll have worked all this, you know, gotten all this time and gotten all this stuff done, and I won't have used it. Well, they jack up the price of this thing so that it's probably about double what it would normally cost in the shop. So I don't know what it's going to cost, but once again, they will always sell this again. It's going to be in the shop probably in, you know, 6 months from now. It'll be in the shop for free, not for free, but by itself without all the bundles and stuff. So if you don't want to, you know, if there is more stuff, like if you get to 50%, I think that'll be what it normally costs, and then you'll get all the things with it too, like all the equipment and so on and so forth. So there's a benefit there, but I'm trying to say, if you get to like stage 6 and you're like, wow, that's still like, I don't know, $30 or whatever it is, like, you could just pass. Don't feel like you have to buy the thing because you've gotten to stage 6. Like you know, just go into it with your eyes open. And so with that being said, I broke it down here. Like if your base XP is one of these numbers, this is how long I think it will take to do each stage, right? So if you're, and I looked at my stats right now, my average stats are 500. And if you look at your player details, like in the game service record and stuff, it'll tell you what that average is. But the number that is shown is modified based on premium time. So because I've had premium time for a lot, mine says like 750, but that's also modified by premium time. So really what it is about 500. So this column is really just like me, for example. And then this is for everybody better than me. And this is for people that are worse than me. So like, just to give you an example, like I feel like most people, I don't know, like just use that as a judgment. So like it's probably going to take me about 6 games to get through stage 1 and 10 through stage 2 and so on, and then about 100 games to get through stage 10. So it's probably going to be about 500 games total to finish this whole thing, ballparking. I mean, obviously, again, if you can skip some of these using the other methods, right, the tier 9 and 10 way, then that you will take some of, take this off. Like if you manage to skip stage 3 because you've finished it in 4 battles, well, great, you just saved yourself 12. You know what I mean? So like you can use this math, but I just wanted to give a rough estimate of like how long it would take. This is the number of games. And then if your games last 6 minutes, it's going to take this many hours over the course of 10 days. If your games last about 10 minutes, it's going to take this many hours. So I don't know what your personal average is or how long games normally take, but I figured it was probably somewhere in this ballpark, somewhere between 6 and 10 minutes per game average. And so if you're a very good player and you're playing very fast games, then somehow, I don't know how, if that's even feasible, but if someone's just like a god at this game, like Skill's probably going to finish this marathon in 36 hours total over 10 days. That's 3.6 hours a day average, which is still kind of a lot, right? And some of the lower skill players taking longer, that's 139 hours over 10 days, which is an average of 13.9 hours per day for 10 days. So this is a lot. I'm doing this because I want you guys to go into this with your eyes wide open, have your expectations in mind, right? If you see this and you're like, yeah, I got nothing to do for the next 10 days, then and you care about this enough, then go do it. That's great. But I don't want you to be disappointed if you get to stage 6 and you're like, God, this is taking way longer, and you decide not to care about it, but you've already invested so much time. So like, just go into it with your eyes open. This is just like every other marathon. This is going to take a long time. So, anyways, okay. With that being said, let's get into the tank review. So, excuse me. I'm going to start out by comparing this to the Lorraine 40T and the CDC, because the CDC cries in a corner a little bit. So basically, I'll just give you a quick summary of the tank. If you're here, you just click to this part of the video. I think that this is a balanced tank. I think it's fine. I think it's good. It's like, I don't think it's going to break the game. It's not like brokenly overpowered, but I think it's capable and it's fairly well balanced. Good players are going to have a good time in it. I think bad players are going to have a hard time, getting the most out of this thing, because it has things about it that make it good for good players and things about it that make it bad for bad players. Like the armor's not really there, but it's pretty fast. It's actually faster than the Lorraine 40T. I've tested that in a training room. So good players can leverage that speed and can make use of the good gun depression that it has and so on, and don't really care about that. But like bad players that don't really know when to position and where to go and when to be there are going to get caught out and shot a bunch and die. So I think this is a really high skill ceiling tank, but also a very low skill floor tank. Or I think I've said that right. So like, go into this with your eyes open. I think, again, like Warchild said this in the CC chat. I think the AP AMX 30 is pretty much like what the AMX CDC would be if it were designed today for World of Tanks in 2021, because it's this kind of flexy, fast, pew pew, medium range thing that works rid lines, and anyways, so that's the kind of play style. With the main difference is that it can't be just pooped on by HE rounds from everything. So basically, the high point here is it has the same 100mm French 100mm gun as the Lorraine 40T and a bunch of the other, like the Liberté has the same French 100mm gun. It's the AMX 50-100 on the tech tree has this same French 100mm gun. If you've played any of these tanks on the French tree, you know what I'm talking about. It's the same tank. It's the same gun, I should say, with the same 232 excellent standard penetration, does 300 damage, which is, these are good. The gun felt good. I didn't need to spam premium to get the job done. I will say that the DPM is pretty low, so that, you notice that a little bit. And then, of course, the gun stats are slightly better than the Lorraine 40T, which, as it should be, because the Lorraine 40T has a 4-round clip. So I felt like when I was playing this thing, it felt like with a Lorraine, I could take one opportunity. If somebody gave me an opening, I could use that opportunity to dump 3 or 4 rounds and get 1,200 damage. Versus in the AMX 30, I felt like I had 1, maybe 2 rounds where I couldn't punish people as much. So I had to work a lot harder to get the damage that I got. But on the other side, you're not when you're clipped out, you're very vulnerable in a Lorraine. And in an AMX 30, there's never a point where somebody could just rush you, because you always have a gun. Your tank is reloading in 8 seconds or whatever it is after you get done with the after you buff it with like a rammer and stuff. So like there are pluses and minuses. Again, it felt fine. The big difference here is you'll notice the gun stats are better on the AMX 30 than on the Lorraine, except for the turret traverse bloom, right? So this is actually twice as bad. On the Lorraine 40T it's 0.1, on this is 0.2, and you do notice this quite a bit. The gun feels very derpy. When you move it around, you're snapping the turret around, the bloom is pretty bad. And then a CDC just cries in the corner. We don't, I don't know why I'm putting this here, because I don't know. It's just like the most obvious evidence of power creep that there ever was. The main big thing here with the AMX 30 is that it has 11 degrees of gun depression, which is, it is better than 10 by definition. But you notice that. You notice that the extra degree of gun depression. Also the mobility. Again, I've mentioned this before, but it has better power to weight and also better ground resistances than the Lorraine 40T. So it is, and better top speed. You notice this on the drag racing that I did to test. The Lorraine 40T was outpaced pretty substantially, 4 or 5 tank lengths and stuff. You notice the difference in mobility between an AMX 30 and a Lorraine 40T. And so that's something. I will say that, like I said, the gun handling is so bad and the view range is so bad. It's 380 for both of these tanks. That like I didn't feel like I had to use the equipment to shore up some of the weaknesses of the tank. Whereas if it would have had like maybe 390 or 400 meters of view range, probably would be maybe too good, I guess. But then I could have made it, thrown a turbo on there and had lots and lots of fun. But then, you making the gun behave, so it would have been a nightmare. So anyway, so this is how it kind of stacks up. In a lot of ways, it does compare fairly well to the Lorraine 40T. Yeah, so okay. And then I guess the specifics of the tank. Of course, it has a 4-man crew, similar to the AMX 30 and the AMX 30B, which are not in the tech tree anymore, but they are in the collector's vehicles. If you have one of those, they're okay tanks. I don't personally care for them, but there are people out there, Thunder, that love those tanks and can do very well in them. So that they have a 4-man crew similar to the Ravioli. So it's just something to be aware of. If all you have is a bat chat, you're going to need an extra loader. It's going to be a little bit annoying in that way. I think I basically covered everything here. So this is kind of the high points of the 65 top speed is big. Ammo capacity, it didn't feel like only 1,500 or 15,000 potential damage, but I didn't feel like really too constrained by this, because with the autoloaders, it can be awkward when you're in between mags, or you have like just not enough for a full mag, but you shoot 50 times one after another, so it's a lot. Yeah, the ammo capacity felt fine. Shell velocity, it's the same. It's just a hair slow on the AP rounds, but then the APCR, you notice a big difference going from 1,000 to 1,250. And of course, you get the 263 premium pen, which is excellent. So the penetration is great, and I did think that it made pretty good money because I didn't need to shoot a lot of premium. Okay, so the build that I ended up using. And we'll get to the, I guess, builds for the thing that this is what I settled on. My crew is very good. had all the view range skills and so on and so forth, brothers in arms, and I'm a tryhard and I used food. I didn't have any field mods because I haven't had a lot of time to play the thing, but I'm basically focusing, you'll notice with the equipment, I'm focusing on doing everything I possibly can to get this gun to behave. Because, you know, getting it to point 0.35 to 0.3, I just, the gun needs all the help it can get, because you'll notice, like, when you play the thing and when you see in the video, you'll notice it's just, the gun is kind of derpy. And so this is the equipment that I ended up using, and I just accepted the fact that I was not going to have great view range, but at least I could hit my shots. So I'm not saying this is for everybody, and this is definitely up for debate. If you don't have the pink version of the improved aiming, then maybe it's not worth it. I'm not sure. Maybe I'd use vents. But this is the build that I would use for everybody. Probably this is what I figured most people would be doing. Maybe you don't have the great crew. You have like a brothers in arms, maybe concealment. Maybe you just have one of the view range skills. And I will say this, since the commander is the radio man, that means you get access to both the recon skill is a crew skill that the commander gets. Situational awareness is for the radio operator. So since that is the same person, that guy gets access to both. Well, maybe you don't know this. Situational awareness gives you 3%. Recon gives you 2%. So if you have this opportunity to get one or the other, you should always get situational awareness first. It'll give you a better bonus. So if you have one of those skills, and then, if you field mod this out and you get a scouting slot, I would put the optics in that. And this is probably how I would go with it, field mod wise. Again, you always want to take the improved sight to get the aiming circle down as much as it possibly can be. And this one, again, I will say the reverse speed of 23 felt really good. So normally, I mean, this one's kind of debatable, right? As whether you would take camo or reverse speed. Since the reverse speed on this is plenty high, I would probably, take the hit on reverse speed, because 21 is still very good, and it has the engine power and so on to get you to 21 right away. So I would do this to give you that camouflage, so that when you need to play bush games and camouflage games, especially given the fact that it doesn't have great view range, you can do those things. Like I said, I didn't get to the point where I could use these in the short time that I had to play with the tank, but this is probably how I would recommend that most people outfit this thing. You'll notice in the marathon rewards, one of the things they give you is a gun laying drive. Please, for the love of God, do not put a gun laying drive on this, or really mostly anything else. There's like a handful of tanks that it's good on, but most things should not be running a gun laying drive. So yeah. Let me see here. So armor, we skipped the armor. So the armor model is not very good. The armor is fairly paper-ish. It's not excellent. There's great gun depression, right? So if you're working a ridge, you can do one of these things, and you see that you got the auto bounce angles. That's nice. Like, this is all great. But the turret, against like low tiers, you got 160 on the cheeks of this thing. You got like 150, 160. Like a tier 6 can still pen that if it aims, right? Now the mantlet itself is 270-ish, right? So that's going to hold up at the tier 8 and tier 7 and tier 6s. You can actually use this turret armor a little bit, but it's still got the cupola. But tier 9s and 10s don't care about this. So like basically the way I would work this is try not to get shot at all. And occasionally when you do get shot, you will sometimes get lucky and get a bounce. But if you depend on this armor, you will be very disappointed, because also this is just an AP round. And this auto bounce stuff loves AP rounds. So let's say we compare it to something that has like a heat round, like for instance, one of my favorite tanks in the game at tier 7, the SU-152 with the heat round that is amazing. Yeah, heat rounds don't care about your auto bounce angles. So you can be using all the gun depression you want, and the heat rounds don't really care. I mean, maybe if you get to a very, very extreme angle, they only auto bounce at like, what is that, like 85? So anything else, like these angles stop mattering when somebody's shooting a heat round at you. So just food for thought. A lot of this stuff that we're talking about really depends on what is shooting you, right? What is a K91 version 2? That's interesting. But like, for instance, the heat round on the Object 416, probably one of the best medium tanks at tier 8, 330 penetration. This tank stands no chance. That tank can pretty much just cheese this tank anywhere, anytime, no matter what you're doing. And so that's just, like I said, it's just something to be aware of. Heat rounds don't care about angles, and angles are doing a lot to keep this thing alive. So be aware of that. It basically it doesn't have dependable armor, but occasionally you'll get a troll bounce and you'll feel really lucky, and then you'll move on with your life. So that is the armor. I've gone over the equipment and the builds and the armor and the stats. I think I've covered it all. Yeah, so let's get into the game. Alright, so we're going to start out watching me play in the AP AMX 30 on Highway. And it's a Tier 9 game, I believe. Yeah, it's a Tier 9 game, and there's no artillery, and a couple of light tanks, and so on and so forth. And so we're gonna go and not ever go to the A2 area, because that would require brawling and so on, and that's not what this thing does. So you basically, I think this is part of the reason I think the tank is a little bit tougher to play. And by the way, did you see us outrunning that Scorpion G? Just a testament to the speed of this thing. But like, you don't really want to go heads up with just about anything in this tank, and you don't want to go brawling. Like, I wouldn't take this anywhere that I would take like a Centurion 5-1 can do a lot more to brawl than this thing can. So, food for thought. We're gonna go ahead, and you can see eventually, you know, you really have to be patient with the gun. But when you are, you know, hitting for 300 does feel pretty good. But look at the aiming. We got kind of lucky, but the aiming reticle was pretty big in that shot. So just pay attention to how much the gun blooms around when you're moving around. And so I'm seeing, of course, that we're losing the A1 area because this map is terribly designed. So I was going to go over here and try to play the tank destroyer role and try to just shoot these guys on their way in. And I'm quickly seeing that our T-30 is being evaporated, and this is just not going very well. We don't really have a whole lot of view range over there. Nothing can see those guys. So this is not going very well. And I was going to try to put myself in a position where I could maybe just peek over this ridge and shoot this WZ-120. And let's see if we can do that, while also keeping him on the edge of our view range so we don't get eaten. And yeah, I didn't really have a great shot on him. Could see a little bit of the hull, but not very much. And this, you know, again, you see the bloom. You see the bloom. Oh my gosh. And that was on me. That was a bad shot because of you have to account for the shell velocity, right? The shell velocity in the standard rounds is okay, but it's not great. And I switched to premium rounds. Probably not necessary, but I didn't want to bounce on the Striv K. And I see these guys are getting underneath of our guns, and because they have support in the back, it would be dangerous to go up to the ridge and spot them. And so I'm driving very poorly and decide that we need to fall back right now, because if we poke that ridge and get spotted and shoot those guys, then all the tank destroyers in the back will definitely shoot us back. So I'm going to turn around and try to take a defensive position so that we can shoot these guys as they approach. I'm going to knock down all these buildings in the cap, which for highways is especially important, because if someone's trying to cap out on highway, they're going to use those buildings to try to hide behind and make it harder. So knocking those down is a really big deal and really helps with the defense of the cap. We have these guys over on the the A line, using those bushes hopefully to spot the guys as they push through. So I'm going to get to a position that's, you know, medium distance away, using these hills to hide my hull, and use the 11 degrees of gun depression and try to just aim. And we did bounce around. I don't know how it happened, but we did bounce around. And I'm just going to use these hills to stay comfy and just look at the gun. You really, yeah, French accuracy. But look at the gun. Like, just pay attention to how the gun blooms out and how patient. I don't know where that shot went. But how patient you have to be with the gun. Like, it'll do what you say sometimes, but it's French tank, man. That's the best I can say. Like, I didn't deserve the fire. But you can see, like, if you're patient with the gun, it will do what you ask. But also, like, it's not going to snapshot. You're not going to just pop shots around. And I'm seeing here that this Lanson is pushing in on our Scorpion. So I know right away that this Lanson needs to die, otherwise we lose the game. And then also, since the Scorpion is spotted, he's going to die soon. So I have the mobility to zip over there, like, at the speed that is remarkable, right? I'm able to go up to the sniper spot, go back to the base, fall back, and now I can take this position over. Like, I have the mobility. That's, I think, the strongest thing about this tank is the ability to flex. And, you know, obviously this 11 degrees of gun depression and the, you know, the workable turret, right? We missed that shot because the gun handling on this thing is kind of blah. And I did bounce around there again somehow. But you could see, like, if these guys I think if these tanks knew what I was in and how to play against this thing, they probably would not nearly be as scared as they are right now. Like, probably that Striv K could tap 2 and just cheese right through my turret, but they're not. I think part of the reason this is working as well as it is because these guys don't know what this tank is. This is before it was released, and people haven't had a lot of chance to play against it and stuff, but basically, my whole job here is to keep these guys lit, so that if they do try to push across to the cap, you know, I have a Scorpion there, I have a Senlac backing me up a little bit, but I also have the turret armor that they can't just... Like, I'm a little bit better suited to do this than the Senlac, so I'm happy to do this and just be patient, because our guys seem to have won the city. You know, it's always important to keep paying attention to what is happening in the rest of the game. We seem to have won the city, so all we really have to do is not lose over here, and we'll probably win the game. So I'm just going to try to make sure that these guys don't get a chance to push us, and push across our base. We're going to just maintain defense of this area as the rest of our team wins the rest of the map, and then that should be the recipe for a win. So we're just going to just keep poking up high enough to light these guys. And it is a very tall tank, right? The turret sits up pretty high, and with the gun depression it has, I can spot this guy about the same time as he can spot me, right? This Kampfpanzer is getting lit by us. We're just trying to keep these guys in check, trying to keep them honest so they don't get a chance to... Okay, and I think the Striv K realizes right now, I think he looks at this and he says, all right, we just need to push this guy. You know, I don't really have any help. This Scorpion G is not in a place where he can help me. But luckily, you know, I don't have any downtime. I don't have a clip. I can shoot him once and then shoot him again. Like, I'm never vulnerable. I still just always have shells ready to go. But they probably realized that they needed to do something to win the game, otherwise the game was just over. So kudos to that guy for recognizing that. I think it was, you know, that was about the only thing they had to do. And I got shot by the Kampfpanzer. I was a little bit surprised that I didn't see him back. And then this one was especially frustrating because he shot me again. So this just goes to show, like, the view range, or lack thereof, is really, really frustrating. Because, so I'm using this dead tank to keep hard cover between myself and this Kampfpanzer, but at the same time, like, oh, surprise, even 90. And we should die here for this. Luckily he misses that shot. But we're going to back up and try to get back to our original position while still keeping the dead tank between us and that Kampfpanzer. And it's a tough shot because I also have an even 90 here to look at. And I'm going to see if I can find a shot through this. Aim, 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 aim. There it is. You know, and we end up getting killed from the Kampfpanzer. Good shot from him because our giant turret was turned to the side. But, you know, it is what it is. It's one of those things that, again, you can see the reverse speed. Like, the mobility is good. The view range is very bad. So I think, again, a good player is going to find a way to leverage those strengths and make good use of the tank. And then not so great players, I think, are going to have a really, really hard time with this because you don't really have the armor. The gun's not really that great, you know, and speed kills, right? If you just run in there and say, whoa, I'm so fast, you're going to die. So, yeah. All right, so at the end of the game, we ended up taking home 3,600 damage, 1,400 assist, 3 kills, and that was an ace tanker, but I think part of that might just be because the tank is new. Not a lot of people have played it. That ended up getting us 1,451 base XP. So maybe, you know, maybe that will be an ace tanker when things balance out. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. The tank is new. You know, and I'm not saying that this is like the best game ever. There are people that have had better games in it already. I wanted to show this one because I felt like it demonstrated some of the good stuff, like the mobility and the gun depression, some of the bad stuff, like the derpy gun and the lack of armor, really. So I just, you know, felt like this was a good one to show. And then at the end of the day, we also made pretty good money. You know, I didn't shoot a whole lot of premium out of this thing. So after a game like that, we ended up taking home about 80,000 credits. So yeah, it makes pretty good money. I think it's a fine tank. I think it's fairly well balanced. It's not broken. It's not overpowered. I think bad players are going to have a really, really hard time getting the most out of it. And I hope that you guys, you know, have decided, and maybe this video has helped you decide whether you want to participate in the marathon or how far you want to get, or whether this is something you just don't even care about. So, alrighty, thanks guys. We'll see. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. All right, thanks. Bye.